I mean, since we started this broadcast at about 9 p.m., we've been talking about the State of the Nation address, which was done today by President William Ruto during a joint sitting of both houses, where the president spent the better part of his speech talking about the state of the economy, the planned interventions in areas of agriculture, health, as well as infrastructural development. And some of the highlights include the fact that the government is going to spend about 5 trillion Kenya shillings to expand various infrastructural projects in the country. This include Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, the Bomas Ongata Rongai Road, among many other projects. The president has also talked about increasing fertilizer subsidy so that we can double our maize production in the year 2026. Other highlights include the improved health care services in Kenya because of the Social Health Authority. Of course, the president has acknowledged that there have been teething challenges, but the government is putting in place various measures to address that challenge. Joining us in studio is Dr. Silvester Kasuku. He's a governance expert and, of course, an advisor to the president. And he's joining us tonight. He listened to the speech. I don't know whether he was in Parliament, but he's going to tell us this. And so he's going to share with us some insights around that speech. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Kasuku, for joining us. Where were you when the speech or when the address was made?
Yes, definitely. I listened to the speech from my office, considering that I was attending to other matters as well. But I gave it a keen ear.
Yeah.
Right.
What is your assessment of President Ruto's third State of the Nation address?
O'Brien, as I've always said it, Kenya as a country is a great country. And Kenya has great leaders. Forget about our politics. Forget about the rhetorics. But one of the things that Kenya is greatest at is planning for development.
Yeah.
And that's why in many instances, you also hear that a lot of policies that are developed in Kenya are equally borrowed by other countries and implemented so perfectly beyond what Kenya does with the same policies that it originates. So coming straight now to the today's speech undertook what I can call a profound unveiling of great plans for this country, of which a number are actually under implementation.
Yeah.
And these are not just policies, these are transformative policies and strategies to take this country to the next level.
Yeah.
And I do know very clearly, and many Kenyans who are also in the know equally share the same opinion, that a lot of these issues have been canvassed before. They've been discussed before. They've been contained in the law before. They've been put in policies that have been passed by cabinets and parliament and have equally been included in the development plan. Whether you are talking about Vision 2030, whether you are talking about MTP4, and even the previous MTPs like MTP3 and the others, whether you are talking about the Better Plan, whether you are talking about other policies that are also encapsulating our national policies. Like if we look at the East African Development Master Plan, like the Infrastructure Plan, among many other plans. When you look at Africa Agenda 2063, when you look at IGAD Infrastructure Master Plan, a lot of these things find they find a ground for relevance, and they also draw from a number of these plans and policies. Forgetting about the politics, as I've said, we have great plans discussed today. We have great programs that are currently under implementation discussed today, and we have great outcomes as well. And do take note that these are outcomes. First of all, I'm giving a broad brush before I can settle on any of the sectors. These are statistics that have been talked about today, are statistics which are verifiable, they are documented, and they'll form part of literature as well as information that will continue to guide development studies going forward in this country and beyond. And if we look at areas of infrastructure, many a times, whenever infrastructure programs or plans are unveiled in Kenya, sometimes people discussing at the local level start to think that these are plans that have been hatched locally here without any connection to any other policies that are being espoused in the region or in the continent. And that maybe they have no linkages. What I want to say that what we are discussing in infrastructure sector today, whether you are talking about roads, whether you are talking about rail, whether you're talking about ports, whether you're talking about airports, whether you're talking about water, ICT, power, and any other, we are talking about infrastructure that has a great foundation on the Africa Agenda 2063 Master Plan, of which we equally have a delivery timeline for infrastructure at the year 2040, under which we have about 53 key projects in the continent under what is called Program for Infrastructure Development for Africa. Why are we having this, and why is Kenya so key to this? Because infrastructure is one of the areas where Africa is most deficient. And the deficiency in infrastructure is actually denying Africa 2% of GDP growth rate per year, denying the African continent in general. And lack of infrastructure and poor access is equally denying Africa 40% of its opportunities. So when we start discussing about development of Africa, of which Kenya is part and parcel, we are losing 40% of opportunities that are already available with us because we do not have requisite infrastructure and we have inabilities in accessibility. Now, coming down, the programs that have already been identified even at the continental level and regional level have cascaded down to our country, in which Kenya is a key delivery country, because Kenya also is a regional hub in its own right, and also a continental hub in many other respects. So if Kenya does not undertake these developments that we are talking about, then it means even the region and the continent is equally suffering. So when we start to look at what we are doing negatively, that maybe we are overshooting the runway, we are actually missing the point in understanding the big picture of how Kenya is playing out in the region and the continent.
And we saw the president, spending a lot of time, enumerating some of, the project that his administration is planning to undertake. And mind you, some of these projects, like for example, the much talked about the Rironi Mau Summit, Nakuru to Malaba Highway.
Correct.
I mean, the master plan for the development of this road was completed in 2004?
Yes, the studies for the Northern Corridor, that is now called the Northern Corridor. And that time, the studies were sponsored by the World Bank. I was a young professional involved in a number of these studies as at that time. And I remember very well, very vividly, that the studies on the on privatization or on involving private sector on the Northern Corridor from Mombasa to Nairobi and all the way to the West Kenya side, even up to the borders with the neighboring countries, was undertaken by a company called BKS from South Africa. Yes. And the reports are there. It did show very clearly that the traffic numbers were justifying investment by private sector. And that going forward from that 2004, 2005, we were going to have greater growth, traffic growth, as well as demand for a much more improved, road infrastructure asset on the Northern Corridor. And at that same time, we were also talking about opening another second corridor, which is now the Lapsset Corridor, because they were contained in the Integrated National Transport Policy. Mark you, the Integrated National Transport Policy was drafted in the year 2003-2004. And it equally talked about dualing the Northern Corridor. Now that it's on the basis of those policy proposals that the initial studies were undertaken.
And that we are talking
After
about
that,
21 years ago.
Yes, 21 years, and we are not yet settling on it politically. When it is mentioned, people still think that we are overshooting the runway.
Now the president is talking about launching the construction of this highway.
Yes.
Next week.
This is long overdue, and the president is right in doing this. And you did see recently when people were stuck between Nairobi and Nakuru, you will not forget the fact that people also got burnt when some vehicles caught fire between Naivasha and Kinangop.
Sachangwan?
Yes. No, the Sachangwan, that was an accident. But there is a time when some vehicles caught fire and a lot of vehicles were burnt on the same road. And it was due, it was as a result of the traffic snarl-up that occurred. And then some accident occurred. And it caught everybody trapped in the accident. And a lot of damage was caused, lives were lost, and we are actually sitting on a time bomb each and every time we are having snarl-ups on this highway.
I also want to hear this. Look at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. This is a project that the president talked about, which is dragging development in Kenya. The president is talking about starting the refurbishment and expansion of JKIA next year.
Yes.
We've been talking about this, and Vision 2030 talks about this.
Yes.
What was described as the greenfield terminal.
Correct.
I want to hear this from you. What do you expect to see once we start constructing JKIA, and what are we missing out with JKIA in its current state?
O'Brien, you are aware that the JKIA that we know was constructed in the 1970s.
1974, actually.
1974, yes. You do understand that if you look at a number of airport infrastructures in the region that were also constructed at the same time, they have long been relegated. Talk about what Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, has done.
Bole International Airport.
They actually did a new Bole some years back, and they are doing another one right now while we are still debating around JKIA of 1974.
In Bishofty region.
Yes. And at the same time, what we are not having done that His Excellency the President is now gearing to do is the fact that Kenya has been a regional hub, even in terms of aviation. And many a times when other countries are rising and putting up great infrastructure investments like what Rwanda has done, what Ethiopia has done, among many other countries are doing, you realize that they are also actually chipping away part of the business that we previously had. And the regional hold or the regional hub capacity that we had, we lose its sense if we do not upgrade our airport, if we do not put up the requisite infrastructure that will now bring us to the new technologies, airport capacities, and the requisite services that go with the modern airports. And if we think that the business we are seeing at JKIA is the only business that we need to handle, we are actually behind news. We need to move to the next level, what His Excellency the President is talking about. And in putting up that particular airport, what was already even proposed in the Greenfield Terminal, which is now again over 10 years behind schedule, as was previously planned and actually was already in the works to be constructed. So we have been going back. We have been moving backwards in a number of these developments.
To help us understand this, because the president spent a significant time of his speech, talking about infrastructural development. Why is the president so keen on developing and expanding Kenya's infrastructure?
O'Brien, I've already said that infrastructure, as already underscored in the Vision 2030, also underscored in the Better Plan, is indeed a great enabler. Infrastructure is not built just unto its own self, but infrastructure is built as an enabler to other sectors of the economy. You need infrastructure in the form of roads, railways, ports, airports, energy, telecommunication or communication systems, water, among many other things, so that other sectors of the economy can actually use them as enablers to flourish. Now, without adequate infrastructure, as I've already said, the African continent is losing a share of its GDP, a significant share, 2% every year. In terms of opportunities that we have, so if we talk about Kenya being the land of opportunities, the fact that you do not have requisite infrastructure already diminishes the capacity of your opportunities. They can be there, seated, waiting for investors. But lack of infrastructure that will facilitate their tapping, that will facilitate their, their exploitation, in itself is a drawback. So what His Excellency the President is talking about is that we need infrastructure to facilitate the tapping of potentials and opportunities that are found in our country. That's number one. Number two, if you do not do requisite infrastructure that enables the various sectors of the economy to be exploited efficiently, then you also get into the art of doing expensive business. You also make private sector business very expensive. Because if you do not create the enabling environment by implementing infrastructural programs that support those development activities, then it also means that you have not facilitated those activities to be done efficiently. So whether we are talking about roads, we need roads. And the African Infrastructure Master Plan requires that by the year 2040, we actually need to have built about 37,000 kilometers of new roads.
New roads.
In terms of railways, it is talking about that the African continent requiring to have built 32,000 kilometers of new railways. In terms of ports, it is talking about the need for the African continent to build more capacity to the tune of 1.3 billion ton added capacity for African ports. What I want to tell you is that countries like Kenya, that are the fastest growing, that are the hubs within the continent, actually need to move at a faster rate in terms of implementing the infrastructure programs so as to enable the various sectors of the economy to move forward. And take note of this before you say what you wanted to say. The infrastructures that we need at the same time are also what, as it is already said before, that we will be cutting the cost of doing business by putting in place the requisite infrastructure. And a recent review by the African Union of infrastructure programs in the continent, touching on different regions and different countries, revealed that overall, many countries are not implementing the required infrastructure programs that need to move the African continent forward. And it is already seen that without implementing these programs, the African continent is not going to take its rightful position in the global industrialization, fourth industrial revolution. So what His Excellency the President is doing is that he's readying Kenya. He's readying Kenya, and it's already there in the African Union report of 2022, saying very clearly that African countries are lagging behind, even though on that particular report, in that particular report, Kenya, Ethiopia, and among many other countries, some few countries are actually doing better than the rest of the African, better than very many African countries. In fact, Kenya and Ethiopia are top in terms of championing infrastructure program implementation.
Very well. Just as an advisor to the President on matters governance, out of the 163 points that the President touched on, he never talked about anything on governance. He never talked about corruption, fighting corruption. He never talked about streamlining service delivery. He never talked about streamlining the public service. What is your take on that?
O'Brien, I think sometimes when we want to look for gaps, we actually get them the way we are looking for them.
But that is the reality?
No, that's not the reality. What I want to tell you is that the president went on a practical approach rather than giving you a descriptive approach. He did not talk about symptoms. He did not talk about problems, but he went straight into solutions. And that's why you've mentioned quite a humongous number of great programs that he has put in place. Each of these programs are founded on law.
Yep.
Each of these programs are guided by regulations, which are already there. Each of these programs have institutional systems that are spearheading them. Each of these programs are founded on policies. Each of these programs are meant to be driven in the manner that conforms to governance principles. So you don't have to come back again and start saying that I want governance, I want what. There is already laid down laws under which these programs are embedded. There is already an underlying policy framework that is providing a framework for the implementation of these programs. There are already regulations to guide how they should be implemented. So anybody who thinks that by the mere fact that the word governance was not mentioned, that now governance is not a priority, I want to say that that is a person who is only looking for a word to be mentioned, but not a system to be unveiled. What the president did is that he unveiled the system for socioeconomic transformation of Kenya.
Yep.
And the structures that embody that unveiling is already in place. And it doesn't have to be drummed beyond reality.
Do you believe, Daktari, that there were Kenyans who are waiting to listen to the president outlining his agenda on streamlining the public service, improving governance within the public service, and of course, fighting corruption? Do you think there were Kenyans who were genuinely waiting to hear that?
O'Brien, many a times, we might say that there were people waiting to hear a certain word. There's a difference between waiting to hear and getting results delivered in a systematic manner. The delivery of what the president was talking about depends on a systematic drive. And that systematic drive, if you look at the economy from a systems point of view, if you use systems theory to define what you want to deliver, many a times, if you want to go to the practical approach to get out of rhetoric, then you tell the people the tangibles of what you want to deliver. Yes. Otherwise, if you go back into describing how you want to do it, the mechanics, describing the mechanics of how you want to do something, sometimes also derails you from delivering the vision that you want the people to see. So today the president did not talk about the mechanics because the mechanics are already there. Yes, they're already there. They're already established. There are already institutions driving them.
He talked about deliverables.
Yes, he spoke about the deliverables, what Kenyans are looking forward to see, what Kenyans want to consume. The mechanics of doing it is already in place.
I want to hear this from you, Daktari, because we should be coming to an end of this conversation shortly. There is the talking and then there is the walking.
Yes.
And for you to achieve the talking, you must do the walking.
Correct.
When you look at all the plans that the president talked about, from improving the social health authority, improving the social health care, roads, agriculture, through fertilizer subsidy, mechanization, as well as the construction of 50 mega dams. When you do a SWOT analysis of all these, what would you say are the strengths and the weaknesses of what the president talked about in achieving all these aspirations?
O'Brien, the sheer number of programs that are currently being spearheaded by the administration, led by His Excellency the President, are magnanimous and numerous. And all of them are programs that are touching the real lives of the Kenyan people. Whether you are talking about infrastructure, you are talking about health, you are talking about agriculture, you are talking about industry and manufacturing, you are talking about e-commerce, you are talking about uplifting, or let me use a bigger description to cover quite a number. Whether you are talking about the MSME sector, how to deal with the issue of embedding productivity in the Kenyan processes or in the Kenyan economy. What I want to say is that the strength in what His Excellency the President spoke about today is that, number one, and which is always spoken about, even in areas where we are talking about theories, is political will. Every government, irrespective of how much programs they unveil, and irrespective of how transformative they are, if there is no political will, if there is no leadership, they cannot be delivered.
Do you think the president has the two?
His Excellency the President has that clearly mapped out in his DNA. He has it mapped out in his office.
So that is not a challenge for him?
That's not a challenge, and I think Kenyans now know that when he wants to deliver, he delivers. And he has no qualms about delivering.
Very good.
And he has no blockages. Yeah, he doesn't call craftsmen and spanner boys to come and do it for him. He knows how to lead. And if he wants to deliver, you cannot stand in front of his delivery.
The president...
Because he wants to do it for Kenyans.
The president also said that he has spent the first term the first years of his administration laying a strong foundation for the achievement of all these. And he said that the next term will be built around implementation.
Correct.
Sounding highly optimistic that that Kenyans are going to give him another term during the next election in 2027.
Yes.
And so for the implementation of all these programs, what would you want to see being put in place?
For the implementation? O'Brien, as we were talking about strengths and what is needed to achieve the reality in all these plans, is number one, as I've already said, political goodwill. Number two is the leadership. Number three is the financing. And we've already seen, yes, and that's why I'm explaining all these items one by one. In areas where the national budget was not able to cater for the programs, like under social health programs as well as affordable housing, you saw the president himself come up with mechanisms of how to provide financing. At the same time, there are areas where the government has already identified for delivery, but has elements of private sector participation, or is attractive to private sector. Again, he has spoken about how to involve private sector in that delivery. So what I can say is that you just need to put in place the requisite support mechanisms, what I call the critical success factors of political goodwill, of leadership, of financing, and the remaining things are now the system coordination, the system framework. Whether you're talking about policies, you're talking about regulations, and you're talking about the human capital is given. Kenya has the requested human capital. We are not sure of it. So all these items that are required for the delivery of these programs are within reach. They are in place.
The ducks are in a row.
Yes, and maybe the thing that you can talk about, which might look like is a weakness, is actually the political psychology in Kenya. Yeah, because whenever something is brought up, there is always a quick dismissal in the political arena. But of course, that's the nature of Kenyan politics.
Very well.
And I would like to say that should never ever come in to derail programs that have already been identified to be implemented. Because again, I want to remind you, when you put in place programs to deliver of the nature of what His Excellency the President unveiled today, If you listen to the naysayers, if you listen to your critics and then you fail to deliver, again, people will say you planned and you did not deliver.
In the interest of time.
But if you deliver, they will give you thumbs up.
In the interest of time, Daktari, in 1 minute, I want to hear this from you. If you were to rewrite the president's speech, what would you omit and what would you add?
O'Brien, I want to put it very categorically. That what was written and read today is the conch medicine. If you want to change its composition, you are going to destroy the plan. What I would like to say is that maybe it is a matter of semantics. Maybe I could have removed English, but I can still retain the exact structure of the plan.
You just retain the structure of that
Yes.
speech.
Yes.
Very good. Anything else do we need to hear from you before I let you go?
What I would like to say is that I wish to urge all Kenyans to find purpose of participating. Because again, in all development programs, we always expect, even if you read from points of theory, people's belief and people's participation in development programs is key. And we need to be each other's keeper. We need to be nationalistic, and we champion the development programs because their outcomes is what will cause the transformation that we are looking for.
Very good. Daktari, thank you very much indeed always for turning up when we need you, and of course for helping us with critical insights on critical issues.
Asante sana.
Your time is highly appreciated.
Thank you very much. Brian.
Dr. Silvester Kasuku is our presidential advisor on matters governance, joining us tonight to help us put some sense into the president's speech, which was delivered today in Parliament under the State of the Nation